All right. Good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for another Center for Teaching and Learning workshop. Shauna and I wanted to put something together a week before class started while we were still thinking about how to prep our courses. Even though we've probably done most of the work, it doesn't mean that we are done thinking about how we want our classes to look. And we thought that seeing that last semester was another trial by fire term, that we could discuss some best teaching practices that seem to work for you all that you would like to share with us, or things that you tried and failed on. This is a safe sandbox, no lumps. We just want to make sure that this is a place where people can ask questions or offer advice. There is no specific agenda today. This is just kind of guided by all of us as we try to wade into the next semester. So I'm going to start by opening the floor if anybody has any questions. And also to keep in mind, Matt Whipple is here in case you have any Canvas specific questions that we could help you out with as well. So I'm going to start by opening up the floor to anybody who wants to share some successes or ask some questions to brainstorm, whatever fits your fancy right now.
Hey, Tom, this is Matt. I have a question about best practices for tracking attendance. All of my courses were delivered online in the fall. So for me at this university, that was a first. What I ended up doing was kind of supplement participation to serve as points toward the final grade. But as far as attendance, I had been tracking the data on Panopto, you know, the viewership, and then also in Canvas. And I just wasn't sure if there's a preference or a best practice there. I think I'll end there with that question.
Thanks, Matt. That was actually going to be number one on my, well, if nobody asks anything. So you sound like a plant. I appreciate your question. Last semester, I took Doug's directive on being flexible with attendance. I took it terribly. I took it as, well, then I just won't count attendance. And in one of my classes, I know I lost a quarter of them. They were like, well, there's no attendance, so I'm not going to show up for the Zooms. And I'm sure in their heads they said, oh, well, then I'll just watch these videos that I posted later, and they never did. So I am eager to hear how people managed this. I have a plan for this year, but I want to hear how others are going to approach this.
This is Amber over here.
Hi, Amber.
This past semester, I also struggled with attendance. I had a hybrid class. So it was some of my students showed up in person, and then some of them watched the lectures on Zoom live, and then some of them watched the recording later. And so I started by taking attendance with the students that were in class, and then on Zoom, if they had their camera on or if they said something in the chat at one point, then they were counted for attendance. But I also had a hard time with the recording. My plan for this year is each week at the beginning of the week, the first part of class, I'm going to do like a Kahoot with just 3 questions from the last week. If they get all 3 right, they get some points, or if they at least participate and try, they get some points. So that's how I'm gonna try and work that into attendance this time. But I do find that's a struggle, especially with the online or with like the students watching the lectures later.
What was the name of the tool that you're using?
It's Kahoot, Kahoot. And it's just like, a lot of people use it for like trivia or like games. But you can run reports to see who was in the game and how many questions they got right, which questions they got right, and all of that. So
now, is that an application that's included in Canvas, or do they have to download it separately?
That's just a website. It's kahoot.it.
Okay.
And you can go in, create a free profile, make your own little games, and then they just type in a code. They can either have an app or they can just go to the browser and go to the website.
And so are you planning to kind of quiz them at the end of a class session?
I'm going to do, so I have class Tuesday and Thursday. And so on Tuesday of each week, I'll do a Kahoot over the last week so that they have that weekend to watch any lectures.
I like that.
So I'm hoping it works. Fingers crossed.
And even if they get it wrong, at least you can measure that they're there a bit.
And then I can say, oh, maybe we should cover this a little bit more.
Excellent. Any other tactics that people have used?
Yeah, I can relate to Amber's idea. I did build in some random trivia in my videos, just short clips. The hit rate was about half the class. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Amber.
One of the things that I'm planning to do this year is obviously do my best to take attendance of the people who are in class and on the Zoom feed. But I was also, for anybody who is absent because it's COVID related or whatnot, they can watch the videos. And I want to run the reports. I'm going to give them 5 days to actually look at the recorded lecture. And if they don't, then I'm going to mark them absent. Where I foresee running into problems, though, is if I don't get clear communications on COVID, which is hard. It's impossible for me to manage if I don't get clear notice on that. And then what happens if people get together to watch videos? Because I know that does happen. I had some students last semester chiming in on one feed. They were sharing a computer. So that doesn't solve that problem yet. So Amber's policy might actually work to my advantage.
Do any of you use quizzes where they have to watch a video before they can get to the quiz? Take that as a no.
I haven't done that. I know that Jeff, in your department, Jeff has quizzes in the video. So he uses Panopto's quizzing function to answer questions as they go along. I've seen that, but I haven't seen the kind of that gatekeeper. Is there a way to keep that? Like,
he spent a lot of time putting together like quizzes that you couldn't open the next lesson until you completed like the 2 or 3 questions that come with the previous lesson.
Can you do that in Canvas? I remember being able to do it easily in Moodle. If I'm allowed to bring that up.
At least so, Matt, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, you can set up rules in your modules where students have to follow a sequence of things. Either they view it or participate, meaning they have to watch a video, or, well, if they watch a video, I mean, they can just click on the link, honestly, but maybe they have to like submit an assignment before they can have access to a quiz. But you can set up rules where they can either view it or participate it in either a sequential order or just anything within that module. And then any modules that come after that are blacked out, or they're grayed out, I mean, where students don't have access to those. They can see them, but they just can't click on them or interact with them until they've completed all the sequence of the module that they're working in. But as far as like a quiz, they would have to complete and submit the quiz in order for like the next item in that module to be available for them to click on and view or whatever. So yes, you can do that in Canvas. And if you guys have any questions about how to do that, I'd be happy to help. I'm sure there's probably some other faculty that have figured it out too. So, but yes, you can do that in Canvas.
And Jeff was showing me some of the features of what he's doing with his Gen Chem class this spring. And I know that he was including, not only do they have to complete the quiz, but they're given, I think he was giving them unlimited access, but they also have to score at a certain level to pass it, because he's big on specifications grading. And so that's one of the ways that he's checking off part of the
yeah, there's a mastery learning option that you can turn on in your Canvas settings under feature options. And that way you can say you have to score at least a 70 or 80% on this quiz in order for you to have access to the next module or the next set of content. But you have to turn that on in your settings under feature options. It's mastery learning. That might be what you're referring to in Canvas anyway. I don't know if very many people use that, but there's an option there, so it's kind of a neat thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject.
No, thank you. I'm curious, how many of you are using types of attendances like this, or sort of a daily assignment of some sort as part of their grade? And how much might you award for that? Amber, what do you think?
For my class, I have attendance and a discussion board all lumped together, and it's worth 10% of their grade. So we have a discussion every unit that they have to respond to, and then I do participation or attendance as part of that. So it's kind of all lumped together.
Anyone else?
For my attendance and participation, I always lump those two together. The participation is the main part of it. The less you attend, the more I take away from your participation. And it does depend on the course. If it's an upper level course, I'll make it 15 to 20%. If it's a lower level course, it's usually 10 to 15%.
I started doing that this fall with my quantitative analysis class at the junior chemistry and biology majors, and it's very math intensive. And so I decided to use a new feature called Clutch Prep. It's just a website where they essentially have tutorials, and they put together a course worth of tutorials for me. So for the first time, I actually gave them like attendance points for watching those. I'm working with a flipped classroom now with that class, and so we don't have lecture, and I would only see them in lab once a week. I wanted to do that just to make sure that they were staying engaged with the material, and I could put deadlines on what videos they were supposed to watch. But I did give them, well, I call them sweat points, right? They can turn on the video and not even pay attention to it if they want, but these were problem solving videos where they were very good at showing them step by step on the math. And so I think most of them actually did utilize those the way they were supposed to. I got positive feedback on it, but yeah, that's the first time I actually gave them attendance points in that manner for an asynchronous class, as opposed to little quizzes that I used to do in class. So that's kind of how I converted over from what I used to do to the new format.
Can we talk a bit about student engagement? I, as a history teacher, love to do a lot of call and answer. It's a great way for discussion, but also as a way to measure content mastery. But I really felt like teaching to folks on camera, that those students, except for a small handful, were less eager to do so. So one of the things that I found, and it's just kind of, I don't know if this is a psychological or spiritual thing, but watching a bunch of boxes, inanimate boxes, was very disheartening. I felt like, well, I'm just going to be lecturing to these boxes, whether these people are there or not. And I would love to say, hey, turn on your camera so I know you're paying attention, but that is a huge privacy violation. And kind of it's a problem all around in that sense. So I felt like I was really struggling to get the type of engagement that I would get in the classroom. In the classroom, I can see somebody making a furrowed brow at something that I say, and I can say, all right, you reacted, now say it out loud. And the students are usually willing to participate that way. But without that facial interaction, I really struggled. I felt like I was struggling to get good engagement. So I'd love to hear from y'all some tips that you might have, things that you succeeded with in getting participation when things got stale? Did you use iClickers or Kahoot beyond the quizzing tool, or other modes to get people over this divide?
This is Evan. I actually used just the Zoom reactions a lot. Just simple things where you just say, okay, you know, if this is making sense, everyone give me thumbs. Or, you know, if this is, if we need to go over this again, give me confetti. So it's just something that they don't have to talk. Because I had a lot of students who, for example, were doing Zoom in the library, so they felt uncomfortable speaking. I also told them a lot that to use the chat function, and I would read questions aloud to everybody. That helped too. But I got multiple comments actually on my evals about the reactions, and they liked just using those stupid little reactions. There, you know, the clap, the thumbs up, the heart, the laughter. So for those who wouldn't turn their cameras on, which was the majority of my students, even just seeing a wave of thumbs because they all understood it or something like that, at least made me feel somewhat connected to them.
So, silly question. I only have yes, no, go slower, go faster, which, by the way, if a student ever told me to go faster, I would be fired from CTL for choking a student.
Are you down at the reactions thing?
I don't know. Let me see.
Okay, look at the bottom of your Zoom.
Oh, there's more reactions. Yay.
Yes.
Teacher. So I will be resigning as CTL director for not looking at the obvious. So I'm going to click on that. But all I have is a clap and a thumbs up.
Oh, I have heart, like joy. Here we go. Joy. Open mouth. Amber's got some confetti. Matt's got some confetti. Or I think it's ta-da. Ta-da.
I only have the two. So is that in my settings somewhere?
I genuinely don't know because I didn't set it.
Did you get a heart because of your name?
I don't spell it that way. But there you go.
Okay, well now I go find more icons.
Dom, I think that came with the most recent update of Zoom.
Are you saying I'm out of touch?
Putting you on the spot.
Thank you, jerk. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Or update. No, thanks. That's awesome. In fact, I hadn't updated at home since I first installed it, and I was actually getting locked out of Zoom meetings until I did that. So good to know. Are we allowed to update our own, or do we need tech services to do that for us?
That's a good question. You might want to ask Kevin McCorder about that. I don't know if he's on this session or not.
I forgot to invite him. I'm sorry.
He said he was going to join. I think the link was on the Griffin Weekly.
Well, you're very kind to throw him under the bus, Matt. I appreciate it.
Well, I don't pretend to know anything about Zoom. But I think Kevin might be able to answer that question.
Okay.
So you might just shoot him an email just to see what updates, if any, that need to be done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Other engagement tips or techniques?
I was teaching a colloquium with someone this fall, and we were face-to-face for the entire thing, but it was very hard to get anybody to talk at all. But we got a lot more interaction with the discussion. Someone else had said that they do discussions, and we gave it like 20%, but we would give them questions and like a week to answer questions and also react to other people's questions. For us, I mean, since we were trying to get them engaged at all as opposed to in real time, it was really good just to get them to talk to one another and us.
I did find, and I don't know if anybody else found this, and a cure for it. All of my classes were hybrid. I was in the room, limited number of students there, and then the rest at home on Zoom. And I had one class that it was actually evenly split. And the in-class group was pretty active. And it seemed like the more active they were, the less active the at-home folks got. And I felt like, even though I have an omnidirectional microphone and I would test, can you guys hear what's going on in the classroom? I felt like they were acting as if they were excluded. Maybe I'm projecting that or not, but I felt like they were acting as if they were left out. I don't know, maybe I was overreacting, but I did feel this divide between the two different groups.
Has anyone used breakout rooms?
I have. Yeah.
I have.
I see that mentioned a lot on pedagogy on, Facebook. I haven't tried it yet.
Are you afraid to say pandemic pedagogy?
I think I just forgot the word.
So Benedict,
we're already there.
What successes have you found in using the breakout rooms?
In fact, there was one class which was supposed to be face-to-face. But because of the pandemic, it was completely online. By the way, here's my
Oh!
A guest.
Very soon he will be 6 months.
Oh, wow. Very cute.
Yeah.
6 months. He's taller than I am.
Yeah. So what I did, here's another one. Crystal.
Hello.
With all of them here. Say hi.
Hi.
So that class is supposed to be face-to-face. Even up to now, it's a face-to-face class. But because of that, it's a junior experience class. So we made it to be completely online. With so many documentations involved and give them all those details as much as possible. So what I did was that I give them all the information before the classroom, all the materials which they need. They read through, and when they come to classroom, I divide them in different groups. They share as much as they can and come back and report what they shared. Okay. Sometimes I have the questions already prepared. Sometimes I just say, okay, bring the questions, discuss, bring them to me, tell me what you discussed with your supervisors in the what, or the cooperating teachers over there, and bring them here, let's talk about them. And how can you write your unit plan in a successive way? So I found that very useful because the more they discuss, the more they share, the better for them to understand the concepts than reading and do it as individuals. Breakout rooms, yeah.
Did the breakout room get more, your students who tended to be more quiet or did not participate normally in the regular classroom, did you find the breakout rooms, they were more open to participating? Okay.
Yes, this is what I do. When they put them in breakout rooms, I do go there in the breakout rooms to say, what do you feel? What do you think? Yeah. At least I facilitate for 2 minutes with them. I say, I'll be right back. And I go to another breakout room. All of them, it's like I'm all over. You have one question, I'm here, I'm here, let me know. So I find them very useful and just as much useful as it is in the face-to-face classes.
Now, in the face-to-face classes, the groups know you're there and know you're watching. Even when you're talking with one group, the other group can still know that you're there. With the breakout rooms, do they know that you're not there?
They know that I'm not there, but
okay.
They know that anytime I'm coming there.
So any moment.
Yes, any moment I say, okay. Of course, they know that I'm coming there, so they change the topics as much as possible that I'm there, they are there.
Excellent.
I'm there, yes. It's a good substitute for those classes which are completely online.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Evan, any observations from your use of breakouts?
Yeah, so I actually have them, I send them a Google Drive link. So I make them take their notes for their breakout session in the Google Drive, like basically in a shared document, so that I can keep an eye on what they're doing. The first time I did breakout rooms, I was kind of doing what Benedict did and jumping in and out. And what I found is that when I was there, people would turn their cameras back off. They actually turned their cameras on when I wasn't in there. And then when I popped in, they turned their cameras off. But I did read something actually over break, and I was trying to find it while Benedict was, describing his experiences, that they did some kind of informal study, and they found that when professors jumped into the breakout rooms, it actually stopped conversation even after they left. It actually hindered more discussion. And so they actually suggested not jumping in and just having them do the ask for help button, which they can do in the breakout rooms, and do something like the Google document or the Google Drive document. So you can still make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. But that for a variety of reasons, they're more hesitant to talk when you're there, which we know, right? That they're more hesitant to talk when we're sitting there, and I think we're judging them. But that's even worse on Zoom and in the breakout rooms.
That's fascinating. So you're just supposed to sit there and eat your grapes and wait?
I mean, I tried not jumping in as much another time with that honors class I was doing that with, and they did actually ask for help numerous times. So I was jumping into breakout rooms, but it was more like when requested.
Interesting.
Versus doing like just sort of diving in and be like, I'm here. And I found that worked well. Now it was an honors 195, but it worked really well.
Now there is an ask for help button.
Yeah, when they're in the breakout rooms, there's an ask for help button.
So do you get summoned no matter what room you're in, or only if you're in, I don't know what to call it, purgatory waiting for help? Sorry, Catholic Dom interrupted.
My experience, it kind of, it's like an invitation almost, and then you go there. I can't really explain it without seeing it.
Okay, thank you.
Like they raise their hand.
I mean, that's kind of what it is, essentially. But I can't for the life of me find what that thing was that I was reading that said that about the breakout rooms, because I would share it with everybody, but now I can't find it.
Okay. We trust you, I think.
But there's no way to like lurk like when they don't know that you're watching.
You can do this, Shauna.
I don't think you can lurk without them knowing that you're lurking. But that's why I do the Google. For me, it's the Google Doc, because I can be in there with them, watching as they're typing out answers, etc.
And so that is one way to lurk. If there's nothing coming from one of the groups, you can type in their notes, yes, no.
Sometimes also in breakout rooms, I give them something to do so they come and present to the classroom. And when they present, I ask the group, what do you feel? So it's like they are debating, but not really debating. In that way, it sinks more into everybody's minds, finding the pros and cons of what they are discussing there in breakout rooms. So they give them an appetite of saying, we have to do something here substantial so that we don't not be criticized much by the other class, by the other groups. It's helpful sometimes.
Excellent.
Yeah, something I took liberty of right around midterm was scheduling students for one-on-one Zoom sessions just to check in on their project process. I think that's the area of motivation that I struggled with most, is they were experiencing Zoom fatigue, we'll call it. It's not a matter of laziness. That wasn't for sure. That was for sure. It was just we're throwing them different options too. So from one class to the next, when they have a smorgasbord of software apps to choose from, I think that's just overwhelming from the student perspective. So ultimately, that's what I want, is just to know kind of what people are choosing and what's working the best.
So did you do that mostly for smaller classes, or are you able to do that with big classes? That seems like a huge commitment of time from your end.
Yeah, class size was around 20. Really, on the weekend, just kind of mapped out 15-minute sessions with each student just to check in, made it mandatory, because most of them weren't checking in like they were supposed to. So I think I had to just kind of enforce it, more or less.
So Matt, was this for a synchronous class or an asynchronous class?
Yeah, it was an online class. What I do in my delivery is I release the content on Canvas at the day and time and that the class would normally start as a face-to-face, and then offer a real-time Zoom session during class if they're planning their schedule that way.
Okay.
Right.
All right, excellent, thank you. So Matt brings up a really important issue, which is checking in on our students. We know that retention is best maintained when you show an interest in a student and don't let them simply fade away. Sometimes we're better at that than other times. Last semester was a burdensome semester, more so than what I think a lot of us are used to. And I think that goes for our students as well. So I'd love to hear any advice, any successes or failures where people experienced trying to connect with students beyond just the coursework as a way to get them engaged or retained or on track.
It's silly, but I did silly discussion posts every week or every 2 weeks. So it would be 1 week where it's just post pictures of your pets. 1 week that was like something silly. It was like, who's your favorite superhero? In which I told them they were all wrong because no one picked Wonder Woman. Oh, don't make that face. Basically just something silly where they were engaging as people versus just students. And again, it's dumb, and a lot of them didn't do it, but a lot of them did. And the ones that did, again, I mean, I hate going back to evals all the time, but evals, I had a number of people say that they liked those because it takes no time and it's silly, and they, get to talking on the pet post. I think I had like 700 posts at one point because they were talking about each other's pets and then posting updates. Like somebody had a fat cat and I like fat cats. And they kept posting well after the discussion forums over just pictures of their cat. So it was something silly, but they were checking it. And then I noticed too that they were actually chatting with each other. And at one point, somebody was like, well, give me your phone number. And I was like, please don't do that over the discussion forum. But I mean, they were actually making a friendship just over the stupid Canvas discussion board. So.
That's good. I mean, how many of you, when you're regularly face-to-face, actually consciously make a little time to do what I call sort of fostering their well-being, or you give them 5 minutes to have their show and tell or whatever they do to get settled in to learn, right? You can go in, chat with them, ask them how their team is going, get to know them on just enough of a level that you can increase their comfort zone and get them settled into class and ready to learn, right? Get them in their comfort zone. And so I haven't specifically tried getting them to do that online because I haven't been teaching synchronous through Zoom. I've only been doing the asynchronous videos and that sort of thing. But I'm interested, what are you guys doing in that matter? Or do you consciously try to do that? I mean, what Evan just shared is exactly what I'm talking about.
I find it much easier in the face-to-face when I get there a little bit early to try to connect with the students. But I have been, I don't know what to call it other than guilty of cowardice with Zoom, because I feel like if they're not putting their face up, I feel like I don't know if they're there. I don't know if they want to be bothered, and I should be bothering them. They're in my class. I don't want to feel like I'm putting them on the spot, even though I have no problems putting somebody on the spot who's sitting 40 feet away from me in the back of the room, not paying attention. So I guess now that I have a semester of full Zooming under my belt, I need to get over that hump and, take that, one of the small teaching tactics is you go into class 10 minutes before class So in this case, we should be opening up our Zooms 10 minutes before class and put something up on the board and just ask them what they think about it. So in my case, put a painting up of, I was reading an examination last night of the famous painting of Lincoln issuing the Emancipation Proclamation or reading it to his cabinet. Hey, what does this picture tell us about what Lincoln was trying to do and how his cabinet either embraced or rejected it? And it doesn't have to have any credit. It doesn't have to be related to the readings. It's just to connect with students. And one of the things that the small teaching technique recommends is each class period, you walk up to somebody else that you haven't talked to and just say, hey, what do you think? Now for Zoom, this is going to encourage students to not click until exactly class starts for those who might be a bit shy. But for the in-class, it's supposed to be a wonderful technique to just say, for a student who doesn't want to talk openly to the class, just to talk with the teacher about some thoughts. Can give them that sense of comfort, and you can also give them participation credit that way. A little harder on Zoom, but I think that we could just do that by sharing a picture or a science article. You can see how in depth I am with science. Put science stuff on your screen.
I think the worst meme of the week would be a really good one.
Yeah. Eat.
I kind of do something similar in the fact that I teach animation, so always during the face-to-face classes, I would always put up current animations or current game models or current whatever's current in my industry. I would put work up before class so they can view it. It could be Oscar nominated work, or it could be just whatever's current. I sort of do it in the Zoom session, but I didn't do it as much last semester. There was always internet issues, either on my end or on their end, but I do find that helps connect them to, helps engage and helps connects me to the student as well. So,
other engagement tips or tricks? Thanks, Pete.
This is probably a little bit too simplistic and may not be exactly, I guess it could be used to check in on students, but bear with me here. Matt knows what I'm talking about because it's the inbox feature in Canvas. But I guess, we all teach our classes, and it really dawned on me, or it really struck me when I started advising students, how a lot of them, when I was advising them, we'd come in either face-to-face or via Zoom, and I'd ask them how their classes are going. And I had an appreciation for just not all students, but a lot of students didn't know whether they were coming or going because they had online classes, hybrid classes. They didn't know whether they were meeting in person, meeting face-to-face, or meeting online. And for my part, I on a regular basis, I try not to bug them, but I use the inbox feature constantly to send out students reminders. Sometimes it's, silly things that I embed within the inbox messages. Some students don't need that. Others do need it. But again, going to my eval comments, yeah. I got numerous student evals that said that they actually on their end appreciated my inbox reminders to help keep them on track. Now, I guess what I'm trying to say there is that helps some students even when the world is normal. But I think given what was going on last semester, it became even more important. So.
No, Bill, that's not too simple at all, because it speaks to Matt's concern about overwhelming students with different apps and different tools. They all have to know email. And I resisted the email reminders for my first year of online teaching, and it made a huge difference once I started doing it. And for the students who don't use it, don't worry about it. But for the students who do mark in the evaluations that it matters, those are the people you wrote it for. Yeah. So I don't think that's too simple at all. It's very direct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Amber?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Something that I do just to get to know the students in the beginning of the semester is I have everybody fill out a little note card if they're in person, and then if they're on Zoom, I just have them send me all this stuff in an email. But I always ask for their preferred name, what they want me to call them, what their major is, what their like dream job is, or what they want to be when they grow up, and then where their hometown is. So I just ask them a bunch of random stuff. Usually the bottom one, I say, give me some kind of fun fact. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. You could tell me your favorite animal or your favorite food. Like, just give me something so I can put a name to a face. But this year, my plan is to ask them about a goal that they have. So any kind of goal, long-term, short-term, anything like that. And then that's going to give me a thing to bug them about when I need to check in and say, hey, how's this goal going? Are you working on this? And so then it kind of just gives me an excuse to bug them.
Amber, that is fantastic. One of the things that I've done, and I used to do it in my lowers, but it became a little too much work, but I do in my uppers, is I have them at the beginning of class, usually the second day, do a self-evaluation, and they have to identify 3 strengths, 2 weaknesses, and a goal. Because most people take my class as a general studies class, they don't care about history, but you still have to take the class. What are you going to do during these 3 credits to make this class worth your while? And so I want them to know what their strengths are, but know what their weaknesses are academically, and what can they do to improve over these 14, 15 weeks. And so before they give it to me, I have them take a picture of it and keep it on their phone so that they can refer to it. And then I can bug them later in the term, just like you say, to say, boy, you said you were going to work on procrastination, but this paper's garbage. So it's a way of them creating self-accountability.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Amber, because I know that in University 101, I think that's one of the key things that they try and teach on the skill building. I think that, and I only know this anecdotally, okay, because I talk to Mike Ducey a lot, but I think they discuss it in long-term and also short-term, like a long-term goal for what do you want to accomplish at Missouri Western, or what do you want to accomplish this semester, this year. But yeah, by course or even by unit is also something that I'm considering like right now.
I will just jump in with my very lowbrow form of entertainment. In my videos, I got really good at synchronizing my time. The day before the class, I had to release the content, so I'd record my videos then, and I got in the habit of just leaving the beginning as an opportunity to do something fun. So in the end of this, near the end, I was doing like the TikTok hashtag fail videos just to get a laugh out of them. And I think that also helps kind of make ourselves a little vulnerable so they can realize, hey, I'm a human too. I find this funny. It's a good break from the content.
Other engagement tips or diversion tips? I will share one thing that I resisted that I tried this semester is because as faculty members and experts in pedagogy, we were all on board with Gold Friday. And we all wanted to teach 80-minute classes every time we taught it. One of the things that I did is I did insert a 5-minute break in every session. And I mean, I'm used to teaching 80 minutes straight. I've taught 2.5 hours straight. I know that's not sound, but I can go forever. But when I did a halfway point, a 5-minute break, I cannot believe how many students took it. Everybody got up and left the classroom or turned their videos off. And it seemed to make a difference in endurance in the classroom. I don't know if that, I don't feel like I missed out on content. There's always going to be so much that I've left out. But I found that that 5-minute break made a huge difference for the students. Just as a thought.
I think that's something everybody should assume they do at least every 45 because attention spans are only so much. And if you're sitting in a room where you're comfortable, you're wearing your pajamas still, then you definitely need, you know, a little mental break. And imagine that you're a student who has, you know, 3 of those 80-minute classes stacked next to, you know, one right after the other and high input content. You know, something Ben Caldwell and I used to do when we team taught colloquia was we did it at night so that all the kids in band could come to it. But to get them, you know, past their after dinner sleepies, we'd ask them the stupid question of the night and they'd have to sign in with their answer, and we'd throw them candy and stuff. I wish I could give candy. So, but that was very effective. But imagine you could do that in the middle of a class for sure. Or one that we deploy in chemistry a lot is everybody stand up and do the water dance, where you have to demonstrate all the IR stretch modes of water.
Oh.
Yeah, some other time. Here's one. Okay. This is symmetrical stretching. There you go. It's effective. It's calisthenics. There you go.
So how about any other questions that people might have about things they're pondering, whether or not they've had success in them working or not, something that you're looking to try that's new, that you're worried about and you want to confess to us, something this space, something that you might be able to take advantage of this space for. Okay. Well, if there aren't any other issues that you want to talk about, Greg?
Can you give a promo for Thursday's session?
Sure. I will give 2 promos, 3 promos. I have lots of promos. First, I want to promote Matt's session. Matt is doing Canvas session. So if you are newish to Canvas, and even if you're not, and you want to pick up some tips. Actually, Matt, I was in for a half hour yesterday and I learned 2 new excellent things that I did not know about. So Matt is going to be holding a Zoom session tomorrow at 1 o'clock and Thursday at 11, is it? 10, I'm sorry. Thursday at 10. So those are good drop-in sessions. He has good information on some of the new features of Canvas, or if you just have questions about very basic things, that's the perfect place for them. The Center for Teaching and Learning is going to host a second Sandbox this week by popular demand, and that's going to be about preventing cheating. So again, we don't have an agenda. We want to hear about your concerns and things that you have done to prevent cheating in your classes, what's worked, what hasn't worked, with full acknowledgement that students are going to do it. So what can we do to still teach with great pleasure without the fear of treachery? So that's going to be on Thursday at 1 o'clock. The link is on our Canvas shell. Greg has also sent out an email on that. It's also in the Griffin Weekly. So if you didn't get it from last week, it'll be here for tomorrow's Griffin Weekly, or just send me an email at d.debrinket, and I'll be glad to send it to you. I also want to announce some upcoming CTL workshops. You don't have to write the dates down, but just have them in your head if you wish. We're going to have Jake Kelly give 2 sessions on Google Apps. So for those of you who are not familiar with all of the different apps that we use on campus, he's going to break them up, do some apps on January 29th, and then on February 19th as well. And I will make sure that we advertise those. And then on February 1st, Dawn Drake is going to give a workshop on the interdisciplinary use of her field, geography, how you can incorporate her geography teachings and the lessons that come from that with all of your disciplines to help your students become even more marketable. And if you all have ideas that you would like to share, whether it's in workshop form, we can schedule them. We've been scheduling our workshops on Fridays at 1 o'clock by way of Zoom. Or if you have a tip that you would like to record, we call them Griff Vids. If you have something that you'd like to share with your colleagues, something that you have found success in, whether it's promoting student discussion or you're really good with an app or a tool, if you want to put together a 5-minute video, I will post it on our website and put it in our YouTube channel to promote excellence here on campus. Shauna, anything to add? You're muted. Mute, mute, mute. I'll bet it's awesome, Shauna, but you're muted.
There we go. Okay. This will be my first Griff vid, how to unmute. Okay. I was just going to say, if anybody saw any of the videos that are on our CTL webpage, or if you have suggestions for other links, or if you like to, peruse other CTL sites and have a suggestion for us, we're always open to that. And we're especially going to be working with staff more this semester and try and build up the offerings specifically toward their needs. So if it comes up, please contact us. Let us know what we need to do.
Yep, you can email us individually or to ctl@missouriwestern.edu. All right, well, if you have any other questions or follow-ups, feel free to email us. Thank you for that icon, Evan. I truly appreciate it. Everybody, thank you for joining us, and have a great start to your semester.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.